Hey witches, it's Faye the Fiend, and today we are talking about embarrassing moments that I've had. Can you see me disassociating? I'm just gonna get into it. I don't think there's much of an intro for this, but okay, so the first story I have is before I even considered myself a witch, I was trying to get closer to God, and and I was like, I'm going to take a world religion class. That'll help me get closer to God. It turns out it was more like a philosophy class. Which, I mean, as an adult, that kind of makes sense, but I was taking like college courses at the same time as my high school courses because I was in a program. And so they let me choose one, and I chose a world religion class to be closer to God. And basically, the format of the class was like the teacher would bring someone in, and they would be like somewhat of an expert on their field and or of their religion, I guess. And we would just, as a class, interview them. And so one day he brought in a medium, and she's like, "Okay, raise your hand if you want me to read you or whatever, like have a reading with a medium." And people raise their hands, and I was raising my hand. How old was I? I was like 16. I was a little shit. Okay, give me some grace here. Um, so she like points to people, whatever. And after the third person, I was like, this bitch is full of shit. She didn't pick me. That's really what it was about. That she didn't pick me. I was kind of mad about it. I was like, whatever. I'm just gonna like curse at her and like send her negative energy. Like she's full of shit because like basically I was like, if she's the real, she'll know I'm sending her shit and she'll look in my direction. And so I was cursing at her in my mind, and like I had images of like her flying across the room. It was really bad. I had anger management issues. Leave me alone. Um, and then after the class, like she didn't say anything, so I was like, "This bitch is full of shit." She didn't even look in my direction. And so after the class, we're all exiting, and I think she like grabbed my arm or something, and she was like, "Were you angry? And were you angry at me?" And I was like, so embarrassed, and I was like, "Ha, no, what weird psychic lady? Sure, whatever you say." Oh my god, that was embarrassing. Poor woman. I hope she didn't, catch all of that, but she definitely caught the anger. The second story I have is of the cayenne spirit. I was hexing someone, and I was really angry, and so I'm just grabbing all of these herbs. I believe I've told this story before. And I reach for the cayenne spirit, and I just get like a no. And I was like, that's not real. That's just my intrusive thoughts telling me not to hex someone. And so I put the cayenne into the bowl. And then because it was a hex, I spat into the bowl. And when I spat, like the powder shot back up, and the cayenne like burned the shit out of my eye. um, Embarrassing. Yeah. Me and the Cayenne Spirit were cool now though. Hey, girly, you're awesome. Sorry. Sorry I was being cocky. Well, I don't know. I have like a lot of intrusive thoughts, and so sometimes I hear things like no, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like my intrusive thought, or if that's just me feeling guilty about the fact that I'm about to hex someone, or and so sometimes I ignore things when it's actually like a spirit talking to me. So that was embarrassing. Lesson learned. And now I, ask for all of the plant's permissions prior to using them in spells. This third story is embarrassing because of the guilt that I had mentioned. Basically, I had beef with my neighbors, and I was like hexing them over and over and over and over and over and over, and it would never work. And I see now that like I don't know about hexes. I feel a little more free on whether or not you should hex someone, but curses, to me, I feel like unless you really mean it, like you shouldn't be cursing someone. And that's just the way I operate. I'm not telling you what to do, but like literally, like if the person was on fire and you wouldn't call 911, like that's the only people you should be cursing, in my personal opinion. And so I felt really guilty, especially as a beginner. I really shouldn't have been hexing as a beginner. So already we have the fact that I'm not skilled. And we have the fact that I don't really want to do it and I feel guilty. Um, and then, yeah, I don't know. I just really didn't know what I was doing. And so it's just embarrassing the amount of hexes that I pulled trying to get something bad to happen to them. But eventually I did find my resolve and I cursed them. And it fucking worked. My laundry list of things I wanted to come true came true. But yeah, it was just embarrassing, like how many times I hexed them. Like that really, you really did that. And even when I executed the curse, it didn't hit for like 6 months. Um, so I was convinced witchcraft wasn't real. I was like, this is bullshit. I don't know what everybody on the internet is talking about, but they're fucking crazy. And then that was like after 3 months, because I had been hexing for so long and nothing was happening. And then I cursed, and after 3 months, nothing happened. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, everybody's a fucking quack. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't believe it. And then after 6 months, like, the shit hit the fan for them. I was like, oh, I gotta be careful. So that was embarrassing for multiple reasons. But lessons learned, I guess. The next reason, it's just, so many of these stories are just hubris. I need to be humbled, which I mean the universe has no issue doing apparently. But yeah, these are all like earlier in my practice, so at least I can say that much, right? And one of them I wasn't even practicing with the medium, but whatever. So this next story is about starting to talk to animal spirits. I really didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't really talked to plant spirits or anything, I don't think. And so I had purchased two bones. It was like a raccoon jawbone and the vertebrae of a rabbit. And I love them so much and I think they're cool, whatever, whatever. But as a gift, like, you know how when you purchase something from, especially a small business, they're like, here's a free sample or here's something, blah, blah, blah. So, like, they had a chipped beaver tooth that they couldn't sell and they had just kind of attached it to their business card, which is super cool for like a business, right? If you're into oddities and stuff. But if you're a witch and you're receiving this piece of an animal that you did not connect with, it's just, I really, again, didn't know what I was doing. So I was kind of like, I gave them offerings and I was talking to them and like, would they want to work with me? And so I got positive responses from the raccoon and from the rabbit, but not from the beaver. And for whatever reason, like that ticked me off. And I don't even know. I was just like really rude to the spirit. I wouldn't do that again, obviously. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's that's fucking embarrassing. Like if you're talking to a spirit, even if you give it offerings, like that spirit does not owe you your time, their time, their energy, and I just feel like my response to that was very entitled. Like, well, I gave you all these things and you're not fucking talking to me. That's rude. And it's also like, it makes sense because I did connect. Even if it is online, I feel like if you're intuitive and stuff like that, you can kind of connect to the piece that you're looking at. And so it makes sense that like the raccoon and the rabbit had good responses, and the beaver, who I didn't choose, I didn't connect with, it just was given to me. Like it was the one that was like, I'm actually not here, you know. And you have to remember, especially with animals, like they might have died in a very traumatic way. A lot of bones are ethically sourced, but some of them aren't, and so it's like maybe this spirit doesn't want to talk to humans in general. Like you don't have to take it personally. And so that was kind of embarrassing. And to the point, the more embarrassing part, which I mean, in general, that's already embarrassing behavior, but I was doing it at the altar of an entity that I was working with, and the entity had kind of sat back, like we were getting to know each other, whatever. And then like when this shit started happening, they like it was very obvious. Like she came into the room and she was like, "Cut this shit out." That was embarrassing. Like needing a freaking deity to come in and be like, "Hey, stop being a piece of shit." So yeah, embarrassing. But lessons learned, again, these were all like at the beginning of my practice. So I feel better now. And I'm not saying that nothing embarrassing happens anymore. It's just like not that embarrassing. uh, well, there's things I can't talk about. So whatever. Another embarrassing part. So I purchased a Ouija board. I don't know why, but I've always had this feeling in me that if I did purchase a Ouija board or a spirit board, because Ouija is a brand, I always had this feeling like it was going to be made of wood and it was going to be handcrafted. And I don't know why I had that in me, but I did. And one day I stumbled across an online shop. I'll try to link them below. Let me make a note. Pandora's Witch Shop, I believe. And they're from Ukraine, so if you want to support them, that'd be good. So they're incredible. Like they have great quality materials. They're handcrafted. It's like her and her husband, I believe. Um, just beautiful boards and even candles. They handmade candles. This isn't sponsored. I'm just letting you know, like they're awesome. So if you're willing to wait a little bit, get some of their stuff because it's awesome. But yes, so I stumbled across one of their Ouija boards and I just had to have it. I saw it and I was like, this is it. Um and so I also purchased multiple planchettes because in my mind, for what it kind of like how when you can get a tarot deck and you can talk to any spirit you want with this tarot deck, but you can always gift a tarot deck to an entity or a deity and they'll talk to you. That's like their deck. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, people who use the Ouija board are always complaining about how they call for somebody and somebody else comes in instead, pretending to be that person. So I was like, in order to avoid that, I'm going to buy planchettes for all the spirits that I want to talk to. And whenever I want to talk to them specifically, I'll just use their planchette. Not a single, I bought like 3 of them and not a single spirit was like, thank you. Yeah, I want to. They were all like, no, we're not going to use the fucking Ouija board with you, actually. And so, yeah, that was embarrassing. I really should have checked instead of being like, I'm surprising you with planchettes because none of them were down. And so I kind of talked to one of the spirits about it, and he explained to me that not only is the board a portal, but the planchette itself is a portal. So you're putting 2 portals on top of each other. And basically, I had this planchette, and I was like, oh, do you want to put it on your altar, which is where I would have put it, right? Like if you had a tarot deck for a god, you would have put a tarot deck on their altar. So I just assumed you'd want a planchette, but they're like, no, it's a fucking portal. Why would you put a portal on an altar, which is also technically a portal? Yeah, so that was embarrassing. I was like, cool, now I just have 4 fucking planchettes with the one that came with the board and then the 3 I purchased. And they can't sit on top of each other, so now I have to wrap them all and like put it was just like, wow, embarrassing. Just kind of quickly, they're not really stories, but just telling people that I'm a witch and seeing their reaction, I would have thought that, we're over the whole we're scared of witches thing. I thought, if anything, people would be like, oh, that's not real. But it turns out a lot of people think it's real and a lot of people are scared of it. So it's just embarrassing to look back sometimes and be like, oh, I thought this was a safe space, but it very much is not. And America is very, very Christian, and they're very, very scared of witches. And so I just, getting humbled and remembering that. The next story, I had gotten sick and I was so exhausted, and I had been doing ritual work like every day for like 3 days, I believe, and I was so tired and drained. And I was talking to a spirit that I worked with, and they were like, "Hey, you're gonna get robbed on your trip, you need to do a protection spell. And I was like, I literally don't have the fucking energy to do any more spell work. And so I was like, I'll be fine. I'm always protected, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't fine. I wasn't robbed, thankfully, kind of, I guess, because robbery is like someone hustles you, right? They're like, give me all your shit. This was more like pickpocketing. And they stole my phone and my ID and my credit card because they were all in my phone case. So lesson fucking learned. When they tell you to do a spell, it doesn't matter how small or how sick you are, do the fucking spell. And then the last story, I might save that one actually. I think I'm gonna save that because I'm gonna do a whole nother video for bad reviews that I've gotten as a tarot reader. I've only had 3, and so I kind of want to elaborate on why they gave me a bad review. Like, not to say that I've always, whatever. I'm a good fucking tarot reader. I'll say that. But there's been 3 people who were not in agreement, and so I kind of just want to tell my side of the story on those. So hopefully you enjoy these embarrassing stories. I hope you guys share some of your own because I think that would be hilarious. But yeah, let me know what other kind of content you want to see. And follow for more witchy and shifting content. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.